Working on 96 Ford Taurus, replacing the rear struts due to a broken spring on the left rear. So here's the new quick struts we're using, they're called, or ready mounts, or whatever you want to call them. They come complete with a spring, mount on the top. One note, if you read this up here, don't ever remove the widowmaker nut on the top, because this thing would blow apart and, you know, potentially hurt you pretty badly. Anyway, you're going to begin by spraying all this area down with rust penetrant big time, because this bolt here is notorious for rusting and being a pain in the butt. If it is rusted and tough in there, you're going to just keep backing out, going forward and back, and spraying more lube in there, because they can be kind of tough to get out. Judging by these blue color on these look like they had even been replaced at one point in the past for sure. These are not factory. This also has aftermarket links on there already, so these are going to be a little bit easier to get off than the factory ones. The factory ones are going to be a 13 millimeter nut on each side. You probably take off the bottom one, but for this, a little bit different. Anyway, so this bolt here is 18 millimeter. You're going to have to take this 10 millimeter off here. And I'm just going to focus on one side here to show you guys just the basics on what you need to get this job done. Alright, so I was able to get that bolt out. It was pretty tough getting out of there. If you're working with hand tools, I would really advise getting air tools, because just to show you on this side, you know, if it tightens up, go forward with it. Spray some more lube on there. I've already got plenty on this one. Because the last thing you want to do is break that bolt. So there you go. If you're doing that with hand tools, that job alone is probably going to take you 10 minutes. Now after you get those bolts out, you can leave this brake line just hanging here. You have to get this whole knuckle pushed down off the strut while it's still mounted up top here. This is the time to push it down. What I like to use is my air hammer and actually force this down. If you don't have this, you're gonna have to use a hammer or get crafty with you know, with getting this down off of there. It can be a little tough if this is really rusted. More lube the better. Earmuffs are a good idea if you're using one of these too. Boom, once you have it all the way down to the bottom like that, just let it chill there. Obviously do the other side too, and then we're gonna go inside the car here, remove the rear seat. And just to note here, if you're gonna use an air hammer, it's good to use a nice flat, wide bit like this so you don't damage the knuckle at all. All right, now that we got the bottom all set where it needs to be, you're gonna go ahead and remove these rear seats. To remove this bottom cushion, if you pull up, it won't go anywhere, but if you hit backwards and pull up, it'll pop up. So go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and boom, that pops right out. As you can see, you got these clips on the bottom and they're hooked on those right there. So that was pretty simple. So once you have that out, you're gonna go up here, pull these up, and fold your seats down. You're gonna go ahead and remove 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. Looks like 10 mils on the bottom and 13 millimeter up top. Now once you get those 4 bolts out, throw the seats back up, and then you're actually going to lift up on the bottom and pull this whole thing out on the other side. A little hard to do with one hand, but pull the whole thing up and out and get it out of your way. All right, so once you get that out of your way, don't forget about your seat belt here. When you put this back on, you have to slide this through the hole in there, at least on this particular model. You're going to go ahead and take these plastic clips up. You got 1, 2 of those. And use a tool like this is nice for that. Once you get those popped up, this next part might be a little hard to show you, but basically pull up in the center and slip it out from the sides too. This whole thing should pop right out. You got to kind of push down on the sides and pull up in the center, and the whole thing will slide out like that. Then you got the top of your struts. 3 13 millimeter nuts on each side. No problem, easy to get to. I'm sure you guys can figure that part out. Do not take the cap off in the center and take the center nut out. Once you get those off, leave them up here. So if you have somebody else putting the strut up, they can just thread those right on there. Somebody else pushing it up for you, so then go back down to the bottom and essentially grab it, lower it down, and out the car we go. If you were replacing just the strut assembly on this, you would obviously use a strut compressor in a whole nother video, but remove this nut here after you have this spring compressed, and yeah, I won't even go into that right now. But anyway, assembly is going to be reverse. Here's your new strut. If you've made it this far watching this video, you don't think you're going to have any complications, just make sure when you're putting this new one in that this tab right here is lined up with this and slides in there smoothly. Also come in here and clean this area out with a little sandpaper would be nice too, and rub some grease or some kind of lubricant in there to ease installation. When it goes down, you're gonna make sure your main 18mm bolt that went through this hole here lines up perfectly with this before you go hitting it in there. And otherwise, deal with the sway bar links. They can be a real pain in the ass if you know, you got the factory ones on there. These ones aren't so bad. Sometimes I've found if you're dealing with those, to remove these as well, or loosen these stabilizer bushing brackets here. Lower those down a little bit, helps out a little bit. When you go to insert the new strut in here, you might find it's a little difficult to line up and move this. I take a large pry bar like this, about 3 feet tall, and stick it in the bottom like so, just like this. Do a little pry action, line that up, and boom, slips right on. Now at this point, depending on the quality of your struts, you might have to twist this whole tube to line this up, but it looks like mine's lining up just perfect. So now that I have it slid on there, I'll slide this all the way up so that bolt hole lines up there. Put a little, lube on that bolt, a little grease. Put that in there, snug it down, good and tight. Look up the torque spec if you need to, and yeah. Otherwise, yeah, putting this thing back together. Like I said, if you guys made it this far, you could do the rest. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of this. This is just the basics, just the essentials, and you know what? Quite frankly, you're really gonna work on your skills if you do this yourself with just the knowledge I gave you. You're going to learn some, and if you got any questions, comments, feel free to. Thumbs up is really appreciated, and thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, KZ Guy 2, Chris Brown.